If you insist on suing Chloe, then I'll be her lawyer. The words, clinical and cold, came from my own husband Dominic Thorne, a renowned lawyer himself. Chloe, my cousin, his unforgettable old flame, the one that got away, had returned in the 3rd year of our marriage. My response was swift, decisive divorce, no looking back. So when he showed up drunk on my doorstep weeks later, rambling and regretful, I could only laugh bitterly. "Mr. Thorne," I said, keeping my voice steady despite the tremor inside. "Harassing your ex-wife post-divorce? Are you hoping to receive a strongly worded letter from my lawyer?" My mornings began in the pre-dawn quiet. I'd rise early, prepare breakfast, and meticulously organize Dominic's briefcase. Since marrying him, I had willingly shelved my own dreams, embracing the role of a full-time homemaker, pouring all my energy into supporting his career. And Dominic hadn't disappointed. His law firm thrived under his leadership, navigating complex cases with ease, steadily climbing the ranks until it became one of the most respected legal teams in the city. 2 hours after I woke, Dominic would emerge, showered and dressed. I'd have breakfast laid out on the dining table. "Breakfast is ready whenever you are," I'd remind him softly. Dominic glanced at the perfectly arranged table, then at me. "What time do you usually get up?" 4 a.m. I wondered at the sudden question. He paused, frowning slightly, clearing his throat. "Sylvia, you don't have to push yourself so hard. I worry I won't be able to manage without you." Seeing the way his eyes darted away, a cold tendril of unease snaked around my heart. I forced a smile, attempting levity. "We're husband and wife, Dominic. Why would we ever be apart?" His expression froze for a fraction of a second, something unspoken hovering in the air between us. His breathing deepened almost imperceptibly, and with each inhale my own heart sank a little further. There was a secret between us, an unspoken truth we both tacitly acknowledged but never addressed. It lay there, a constant, immovable barrier. After Dominic left for work, I called my mother. "Mom, how is Chloe doing abroad lately?" Chloe, my cousin, and the enduring white moonlight in Dominic's heart. Before our marriage, Dominic had pursued Chloe relentlessly for 3 long years. Growing up together, I knew exactly why. She'd resisted his advances despite his persistence. Sure enough, when Dominic faced career setbacks after graduation, Chloe hadn't hesitated to leave him behind, seeking her own fortune overseas. That was when I stepped in. I stayed by Dominic's side, supporting him through the lean years, weathering the darkest, most demoralizing period of his life. It felt almost preordained, the natural progression of things. Dominic and I together eventually married. But I always knew, a part of Dominic's heart still belonged to Chloe. It had never truly died. I saw my cousin as the single greatest threat to my marriage, constantly, cautiously monitoring any news related to her. My mother's cheerful voice came through the line. "Perfect timing. Your Aunt Claire just mentioned Chloe's coming back today." My breath hitched. But I thought she was doing so well overseas. Why come back now? I could hear the tremor in my own voice. "Not sure, didn't ask for details. Apparently she met someone here, a boyfriend. Planning to come back and get married." Hanging up, a small measure of relief washed over me. She's coming back to get married. Perhaps Dominic's comment this morning was just an idle thought. Perhaps I was overthinking. 3 years was a long time. Surely enough to dilute old feelings. Besides, I was Sylvia Thorne, Dominic's wife. I was the one who comforted him through countless sleepless nights agonizing over cases. I was the one he whispered to during intimate moments, his breath hot against my ear. "Sylvia, your body. It heals everything." I was the one who would walk beside him through life. Chloe was just a memory, a closed chapter. I repeated this mantra to myself, willing it to be true. Every year on my birthday, I made it a tradition to invite both sets of parents for dinner. It was one of the few occasions the whole family gathered, a chance to strengthen bonds. Dominic understood my intentions and had always been supportive. Usually, he would arrange things with his parents well in advance. I assumed this year would be the same. But as my birthday approached, I booked the hotel, ordered the cake, slipped into a new dress, and called Dominic. Background noise crackled briefly on his end before vanishing. I didn't think much of it, smiling as I spoke. "Finished work? Pick up Mom and Dad and head over soon. Traffic might get bad later." Dominic cleared his throat. That telltale habit when he was hiding something. "Sylvia, I forgot to tell you. I have a work dinner tonight." I'll be back late. I thought he was joking. It's my birthday today, remember? I reminded you the day before yesterday. Silence stretched on the other end. Finally, his voice came strained and unnatural. I'm so sorry I've been swamped, it completely slipped my mind. Sylvia, this dinner is really important. Please go ahead with Mom and Dad. I'll make it up to you. Before I could utter another word, he hung up abruptly, as if something urgent demanded his immediate attention. My parents sat with me in the large, empty private dining room, their faces expectant as they waited for news from the call. Oh, I completely forgot. I lied, forcing a smile while my heart plummeted. Dominic told me ages ago he wouldn't be free tonight. He even suggested rescheduling, but it slipped my mind so I didn't change the date. My parents accepted the explanation readily. They adored Dominic, considering him the perfect son-in-law. They truly believed marrying him was the luckiest thing that had ever happened to me. Until tonight I might have agreed. So much food just for the three of us? Seems like a waste, my father murmured, hovering his chopsticks uncertainly over the dishes. My mother nodded. Why don't I call Claire and Ellen? They don't live far. Besides, we haven't seen Chloe in over 3 years. I didn't object. She was my cousin. Holding a grudge simply because my husband once loved her would be petty and immature. 3 years had passed. Everyone should have moved on. But when my aunt and uncle arrived, Chloe wasn't with them. Where's Chloe? Didn't she come? I asked. Aunt Claire beamed with maternal pride. Oh, Chloe's out having dinner with her boyfriend tonight. I only caught a glimpse when he picked her up, but heavens, he looked so handsome and well-dressed. Quite a match for our Sylvia's husband, I'd say. Being mentioned unexpectedly, I managed a polite smile, though my insides were churning. Dominic missing my birthday. Chloe having dinner with her mysterious, impressive boyfriend on the same night. I desperately tried to quell the suspicions, but the coincidence was too stark, my thoughts spiraling beyond my control. After dinner I returned home, sleep impossible. As the minutes ticked by, my anxiety mounted, a slow burn in my chest. Waiting felt like torture. At 12:17 a.m., Dominic finally came home. He looked startled to find me awake, his movements shedding his coat, changing his shoes, suddenly awkward and self-conscious. Why are you still up? I was waiting for you. I went to take his coat. As I did, a faint fragrance, definitely not his usual cologne, drifted up, catching in my throat. Composing myself, I hung the coat carefully in the closet. What kind of work dinner was it? I asked casually. He cleared his throat again. A thank you dinner. We closed a really tough case for a client. They invited the whole firm out. I said nothing more. Dominic changed his shoes and headed straight for the bathroom. Hesitantly, I reached for his phone. The unease of the past few days, the blatant coincidence of tonight. It all screamed at me to look, to find. Proof to either confirm my fears or lay them to rest. I had never snooped through his phone before. He had no reason to be guarded with me. I opened his payment history directly. An 1,100 yuan charge at an upscale restaurant stared back at me. The timestamp? Shortly after I had called him earlier that evening. Silent tears tracked down my cheeks. My heart felt like it was being shredded by thorns. When Dominic emerged from the shower, I had already placed the phone back and was lying in bed, feigning sleep. Sylvia. Happy birthday. He held out a small velvet ring box, opening it slowly. It was well past midnight, technically the next day. But I still reached for the ring with feigned delight, ready to try it on. The moment the metal touched my ring finger, however, my expression froze. I looked up at him, my face blank. What's wrong? I wiggled my finger where the ring was clearly too tight, and forced a bright, careless smile. The size is wrong. It's too small. Dominic flushed, quickly taking the ring back and closing the box. Sorry, my mistake. I remembered incorrectly. I'll get it exchanged tomorrow. I lowered my gaze, saying nothing. Growing up, Chloe had always loved showing off how slender her fingers were, constantly comparing them to mine. A ring that size, significantly smaller than mine, would likely fit only one person perfectly. Chloe. In the dim pre-dawn light, we lay tangled together for a long time. Our skin touched beneath the duvet, but I felt an immeasurable distance between our hearts, a gap so vast I could never hope to cross it, could never even glimpse his true self on the other side. I broke the silence first. Chloe's back. Did you know? I felt him tense beside me. Yes. he admitted after a pause. I saw her post something online. A sour wave of bitterness washed over me. I forced lightness into my voice. Well, we're family. We'll probably be seeing more of her. His arm tightened around me abruptly. He pressed his forehead against mine, letting out a long sigh. It doesn't matter. I've forgotten her. I hugged him tightly, tilting my head up. He understood the unspoken invitation. His mouth found mine, our tongues tangling in a desperate, hungry kiss. I fought for dominance, stealing the air from his lungs, and he responded with equal force. Dominic, I love you. I whispered against his lips. He hesitated for a beat. Then, rolling me onto my back, pinning me beneath him, he finally replied, Me too. I decided to go back to work. Dominic voiced some objections but ultimately didn't push it. For 3 years I had sacrificed my own ambitions, flawlessly managing our household and caring for both sets of parents. All my careful effort, my meticulous maintenance of our life, counted for nothing the moment Chloe reappeared. To say I wasn't bitter would be a lie. But my love for Dominic, accumulated over years, made me hesitate to tear down the facade completely. Maybe it's just catching up, I told myself desperately. They can be friends even if they can't be lovers. But I couldn't bear betting everything on Dominic's wavering fidelity, remaining a gilded canary trapped in a cage, powerless against the inevitable storm. Besides, even the most captivating woman eventually finds her sparkle dulled by the relentless routine of domesticity. I was once a naturally gifted fashion designer. Chloe, in fact, had only pursued design out of a competitive desire to measure up to me. Now, armed with her overseas credentials, she had landed a prestigious job at a top firm. I couldn't afford to remain stagnant. Drawing on my past experience and portfolio, I aced the interview process. On my very first day at the new company, fate delivered another blow. I ran into Chloe in the hallway. 3 years had only enhanced her allure. She looked stunning, radiating confidence. Sylvia? What are you doing here? She asked, smiling brightly as she approached. I tried to see her simply as my cousin, but the knowledge lay cold between us. She knew Dominic was my husband, her brother-in-law, yet she had met him secretly. My own smile felt thin. I work here now. She nodded, a speculative glint in her eyes. Then her expression shifted, becoming openly provocative. Did you finally realize that staying home as a housewife was making you unworthy of Dominic? What did you say? Chloe leaned closer, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. Didn't you know, cousin? The moment I returned, Dominic couldn't wait to see me. We had a wonderful evening together. I believe it was your birthday. The fragile hope I'd carefully rebuilt shattered completely. All my suspicions were confirmed. I hadn't expected Chloe to be so brazen, so cruel. He's your brother-in-law. I hissed, my teeth clenched. What do you want? Deep down, a chilling certainty settled in. If it came down to a choice, Dominic would choose Chloe. He would discard me. In this twisted triangle, I had already sentenced myself. Chloe nonchalantly tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, leaning closer still, her lips almost brushing my ear. The company's design competition is next month. Dare to enter? I'll prove with talent who truly deserves Dominic. My chin lifted defiantly. And if you lose? I leave Dominic alone. We never see each other again. Fine. I'm in. My fists clenched, my gaze steady. This was Chloe's challenge, thrown down like a gauntlet. For Dominic, for my marriage, for my own sanity, I had to win. Design had been my passion since junior high. In university, I was already collaborating with several design studios, selling my sketches to fund my studies. If it weren't for Dominic, I wouldn't have married so young, wouldn't have abandoned my dream so readily. Now, picking up my pencils again, ideas flooded my mind, a torrent of creativity unleashed. For the entire month leading up to the competition, I immersed myself, locking myself away, wrestling with concepts, reconnecting with the part of myself I had suppressed for so long. Finally, my entry was complete. The day before the competition, however, Chloe called in sick. A flicker of worry ignited. What if she couldn't compete? I'd miss my chance to force her hand. But thankfully, she appeared the next day, looking perfectly healthy. We drew lots for presentation order. Chloe went before me. When her design was unveiled, gasps of admiration filled the room. But I couldn't remain seated. My blood ran cold. Chloe's design was identical to mine. the one I had poured my heart and soul into for a month. A furious argument erupted between us right there in the presentation hall. We both claimed ownership, vehemently insisting the design was ours. The company faced a choice: the highly credentialed returnee versus the housewife attempting a comeback after a 3-year hiatus. It wasn't a difficult decision for them. They awarded the design to Chloe. I was summarily dismissed, told to clear out my desk that same day. I couldn't believe Chloe would stoop so low, plagiarizing someone else's work. But calming down later, I couldn't figure out how. How had she seen my design beforehand? A sickening thought occurred. I called Dominic. Did Chloe ever come over to our house? I asked directly, the question laced with a bitterness I couldn't hide. Had Dominic helped her steal my work? The possibility was unbearable. Dominic sounded genuinely surprised. No, he stated firmly. I explained what had happened at the competition, hoping to catch him in a lie, expose some crack in his denial. But he remained resolute. There must be some misunderstanding, Sylvia. Chloe wouldn't do something like that. I've seen her designs. She's incredibly talented. The company's bias was one thing, I could fight that. But Dominic's words, they plunged me into an abyss. A bone-deep chill spread through me. I fought back tears. Have you ever even seen my design? I asked quietly. He was cornered, unable to answer. In his damning silence, I hung up the phone. The tears finally fell, hot and heavy. I had lost. Utterly. I'd believed winning this competition could somehow salvage my marriage, put things back on track. But it was all a farce. They were already together, conspiring, laughing at my naivety. Overwhelmed, I walked aimlessly until I reached the Cross-Sea Bridge. I needed the wind, the vastness of the ocean, to clear my head. I stepped onto the raised curb at the bridge's edge, intending only to feel the spray on my face. Suddenly, strong arms wrapped around me, spinning me 180 degrees, setting me down safely in the center of the walkway. Who dash? I gasped, startled, thinking I was being attacked. It's me. Jasper. Are you okay? Jasper. Dominic's former business partner. The law firm Dominic now headed was originally their joint venture. They had parted ways under unclear circumstances some time ago. Once allies of equal skill, they were now fierce rivals. Their expertise was so evenly matched that they'd never actually faced each other in court. The reputational damage for the loser would be immense. I looked into his smiling eyes, and a reckless thought sparked. If Dominic cared so little about our marriage, would he even care if I sought comfort elsewhere? I offered Jasper a small smile. Thank you, I murmured, then deliberately swayed, letting myself fall towards him. A flicker of something unreadable crossed Jasper's face, but he reacted instantly, catching me securely in his arms. The wind is strong out here, he said smoothly. Let's go back to the car. The car smelled wonderfully of gardenias, my absolute favorite scent. My mood lifted slightly, the tension in my shoulders easing. Jasper glanced at me in the rearview mirror, a faint enigmatic smile playing on his lips. I found myself studying him openly. He was arguably even more refined-looking than Dominic. A high-bridged nose, sharp jawline, but eyes that held a surprising softness. His complexion was enviably clear. What would this face look like arguing a case in court? I wondered, momentarily lost in the thought, just as I had once been captivated by Dominic. Jasper's voice pulled me back. I'm meeting friends at a bar. Want to join? He clearly saw my distress. Protocol dictated I refuse. I was still a married woman, but I didn't care anymore. I needed an escape or release. I nodded. He started the car, driving quickly through the city streets until we pulled up outside a lively bar. Dominic never went to bars, always maintaining a strictly professional demeanor. I'd mistakenly assumed all lawyers were like him. Seeing Jasper navigate the crowded bar with relaxed confidence showed me how narrow my world had become. He kept a casual arm around my shoulder as we joined his friends. Their surprised stares were palpable as I slid into the booth beside Jasper. Jasper, who's this? A younger man asked, looking at me with polite curiosity. Jasper fiddled with a glass on the table, not even looking up. A friend. He then ordered me a Cabo Corona Sunset. Hearing the cocktail's name, the group erupted in knowing laughter, glancing between Jasper and me. I knew cocktails often had hidden meanings, but after years essentially confined to domestic life, my knowledge was rusty. Does this drink mean something? I asked curiously. A few of the younger guys winked suggestively, but quickly subsided under a warning look from Jasper. No one answered, so I let it drop. They chatted about work and life, but I didn't join in, leaning back against the plush sofa, watching the energetic crowd on the dance floor. They moved with it. Freedom and abandon that I craved desperately, something I felt I had lost long ago. Lost in thought, I didn't notice Jasper lean back until his body blocked my view. "Want to dance?" he asked softly. My eyes lit up. "Can I?" He nodded. "Yes. I'll go with you." A pulsating beat filled the air, a style of music completely new to me. I let myself go, swaying, moving my arms, feeling ridiculously happy even though I had no idea what I was doing. Jasper stayed close, shielding me from accidental bumps, a steady presence in the chaos. "Feeling better?" he murmured near my ear. I nodded emphatically, offering a genuine smile. "Thank you." When the song ended, we returned to our booth, only to find it empty. Where did they go? They had other plans. Jasper gently draped my jacket, which I'd shed while dancing, over my shoulders. His touch was careful, considerate, almost like we were long-term lovers. In reality, back when he and Dominic were partners, we had only met a handful of times. Remembering my earlier reckless thought, I subtly shifted closer to Jasper on the seat. "Do you come here often?" It was an idle question, but he answered seriously. "Mostly for work. I'm actually very respectable. Go home on time to my wife, standard good husband material." I froze. "You're married." If he was, this flirtation, however tentative, had to stop immediately. He shook his head. "No. I'm waiting for someone. When I find her, then I'll get married." "You like her, but you're not together yet?" I asked, suddenly feeling like a gossip columnist. Jasper sighed, his gaze holding mine with deep significance. "Soon." I thought back to my own marriage. There hadn't been much love involved at the start. Dominic was heartbroken over Chloe's departure. I appeared, offered unwavering support, and conveniently gained his parents' approval. So we got married, built a life for 3 years. But a marriage devoid of love is fragile. The moment the white moonlight returned, my entire world collapsed. "A loveless marriage is a tomb," I advised Jasper, speaking from painful experience. "Don't end up like me." The rawness of the sentiment made me reach for the bottle. "Drink." I offered him the glass. I realized he hadn't touched a drop of alcohol all evening. He shook his head again, his eyes filled with a complex emotion I couldn't decipher. "If someone was building a marriage shrine just for you," he asked softly, "would you be willing to step inside?" I pointed at myself mockingly. Me? The abandoned wife? I wouldn't want to ruin someone else's life. A flash of anger, quickly replaced by unmistakable tenderness, crossed Jasper's face in the dim bar light. It made my heart flutter unexpectedly. He gently took my hand, urging me to put the glass down. He looked like he wanted to say more, but simply ended with, "Let me take you home." The car window was slightly open, letting in the cool autumn breeze, clearing the alcohol-induced haze from my brain. I turned, studying Jasper's profile intently. Since finding me on the bridge, he had silently accommodated my every whim, accompanying me without question or judgment. It was a level of quiet support I'd never received from Dominic. "Jasper," I asked impulsively, "are you being nice to me because of Dominic?" He shot me a quick glance, clearly displeased by the suggestion. "He is him. You are you. My actions have nothing to do with anyone else. And you, Sylvia, have never been Dominic's accessory." My head snapped up, my heart pounding violently. In 3 years of marriage, everyone had implicitly or explicitly treated me as an extension of Dominic, lucky to have landed him, expected to manage the household flawlessly. No one had ever affirmed my individual identity so firmly. I am not an accessory. I am myself. The drive was short. We arrived back at my building. Jasper got out and opened my door. As I looked up, I saw him, Dominic, standing at our third-floor window holding a teacup, watching. Jasper followed my gaze and saw him too. "Go on up," Jasper said quietly. "I'll watch you go." Fueled by the day's pain and humiliation, I acted on impulse. I turned and threw my arms around Jasper, hugging him tightly. He must have known I was using him, making a point for the audience of one upstairs, but he still returned the embrace. "Thank you," I whispered, my voice audible only to him. Then I pulled away. In the deepening twilight, I couldn't read his expression, only hear his soft reply. You never have to thank me, Sylvia. Back inside the apartment, Dominic's expression was calm. As expected, no jealousy, just a detached inquiry. I saw Jasper dropped you off. Are you two still in touch? Yes. We've always kept in touch. I lied smoothly, hanging up my coat and heading to the bathroom. Are you all right? Dominic leaned against the doorframe, watching me. I heard. You were dismissed from the company. Did Chloe tell you? His silence was confirmation. Tears welled again as I washed my face. Dominic hadn't said a word about Chloe stealing my design. In everyone's eyes, including his, she was the more likely creator of such a work. The injustice burned. I had done nothing wrong, yet I lost my job while Chloe reaped the rewards. I dried my face. Perhaps because I usually met him with smiles, my current blank expression seemed to unsettle him. He just stared. I'm suing Chloe, I announced flatly. Since you all seem convinced the design is hers, let the law decide. What? Dominic's composure finally cracked. Sylvia, calm down. Don't do this. We're family. I let out a cold, hollow laugh. When you and Chloe met secretly on my birthday, did you consider me family then? His face paled. Dominic valued his reputation above all else. Being confronted so directly left him floundering. Sylvia, you. Me what? How long were you planning to keep me in the dark, Dominic? Stop making me look like a fool. It was the first time I had ever truly yelled at him. He looked stunned. I backed away, shaking my head. From the end of dinner until you came home. That was 5 hours. Do you have any idea what waiting felt like? Plenty of time to do whatever needed doing, right? And then you came home and held me like nothing happened. Bravo, Dominic. Truly impressive. I gave him a sarcastic thumbs up. The thought of those 5 hours, the possibilities, twisted my stomach. This home, once my sanctuary, now felt suffocating. Without another word, I grabbed my jacket and stormed out. Predictably, Dominic didn't follow. Outside the building, I crossed the street, walking aimlessly along the pavement. A white car with dimmed headlights pulled up slowly behind me. It had been trailing me quietly for some time. Realizing this, fear spiked and I quickened my pace. A gentle voice called out, "It's me, Jasper." I stopped, turning around. "Why are you still here?" He got out of the car. "I was worried about you, so I waited. I was trying to light the path for you, but I think I scared you instead." He had waited all this time? Since I went upstairs? He looked so sincere, the faint streetlight catching sparks in his eyes, making them incredibly bright. I found myself drawn in, captivated. My heart, loyal to Dominic for 7 years, was suddenly, inexplicably, beating faster for Jasper. "Where do you want to go?" "I'll take you." Head bowed, I replied without thinking. "I'll navigate. Take me to my mom's place." I stayed at my mother's for several days. Dominic called her once, inquiring about me. He mentioned his firm was under attack from competitors, that he was swamped and might not be able to give me much attention, hoping I was doing okay. I doubted his excuse. Who could realistically challenge Dominic's firm in this city? More likely, it was a convenient way to spend more time with Chloe. After resting, I hired a lawyer and formally filed the lawsuit against Chloe. The shock came when I discovered who Chloe had retained as her defense counsel. Dominic. He showed up at my mother's place with a thick file detailing precisely how he planned to win the case for Chloe. The absurdity was staggering. "I'm sorry, Sylvia," he said, avoiding my eyes. "It's a case the firm took on. I couldn't refuse." I laughed bitterly. "You're the boss. You couldn't refuse." He adjusted his glasses. "You can still withdraw the lawsuit." He was fully prepared to stand against me, defending the woman who had betrayed us both. "Dominic, you are the biggest disappointment of my life." I threw the entire file at him. The name Dominic Thorne carried immense weight in the city's legal circles. I contacted 7 different lawyers. Every single one declined my case the moment they heard Dominic was opposing counsel. Such was the power of his reputation. I returned to our apartment to pack the rest of my things. Dominic maintained his stance. "Sylvia, listen to me just this once. Withdraw the suit, and this all goes away." I didn't even look up from my packing. "If I can't find a lawyer, I'll keep looking. I will see this through." Seeing my determination, his voice hardened. "If you insist, then I have no choice but to uphold justice." I froze. Justice. The word sounded obscene coming from him now. I remembered vividly how his inherent sense of justice was what initially drew me to him. During my freshman year of college, my father, a construction foreman, was blamed when a worker suffered a disabling accident, while the negligent bosses washed their hands of it. I frantically gathered information, trying to build a case for my father. Overwhelmed and lost, I found a notebook on my desk one morning. It contained detailed notes on how to approach such a case, complete with contact information for a reliable lawyer. My roommates insisted only the brilliant law student Dominic Thorne could have compiled such a professional strategy guide. It was later confirmed to be his notebook. From that moment on, I was hopelessly in love. Back then, he radiated righteousness. Now looking at him, he felt like a complete stranger. Carrying my suitcase downstairs, I walked along the same stretch of pavement as that night, the place where Jasper had quietly followed, lighting my way. A lump formed in my throat. I admitted it to myself. I missed him. Jasper, whom I barely knew, had inexplicably occupied my thoughts constantly these past days. After dropping off my luggage, I went back to the bar Jasper had taken me to. 1 Cabo Corona Sunset, please. The drink Jasper had ordered for me. Have you missed her lately? The bartender recited softly as he placed the drink before me. Everyone holds someone unforgettable in their heart. I miss you. 1 Cabo Corona Sunset, madam. Enjoy. Excuse me, I asked. Was that the meaning behind the drink? The bartender smiled and nodded. My heart did a wild flip-flop. A familiar male voice sounded from beside me. 1 Cabo Corona Sunrise, please. Thanks. I turned slowly. Jasper stood there, smiling gently. He wore a crisp white shirt under a sleeveless sweater vest, looking fresh and relaxed. Did you figure out the meaning of your drink? He asked softly. I nodded mutely. The bartender placed Jasper's drink before him. I crossed mountains and valleys for you, he intoned, to show you the most beautiful sunrise. 1 Cabo Corona Sunrise, sir. Enjoy. Jasper inclined his head slightly, then raised his glass towards me. To you. Our glasses clinked, a clear, bright sound. In the flickering, shadowed light of the bar, Jasper's face looked devastatingly handsome, almost ethereal. A jolt like lightning shot through me, leaving me breathless and slightly numb. Fueled by alcohol and emotion, I wanted only to lose myself. Jasper, I whispered, come closer. He obliged without hesitation. He smelled of gardenias just like his car. The scent, already a favorite, felt utterly intoxicating now. I leaned against him, letting my fingers trail lightly across his chest. His breathing quickened. Sylvia, he murmured, his voice slightly rough. You're making me lose control. His warning, devoid of any real threat, only emboldened me. I shifted, settling onto his lap, pressing my body fully against his. Through the thin fabric of my dress, I could feel the heat radiating from him. Jasper remained tense, clearly fighting for control. Desire warred with restraint in his eyes. He didn't push me away but didn't make a move either. I leaned in, my lips brushing his ear. Jasper, I want to sleep with you. Beads of sweat dotted his forehead. He gently guided my head to rest against his shoulder. Give me a little more time, he whispered, his voice strained. Next time you say that, I want your heart to belong only to me, with no room for anyone else. That night, Jasper rejected my advance. But then he added, his voice firm with resolve, Sylvia, I'll take your case. I'll help you fight this. I thought maybe he was just saying it. Dominic's reputation was formidable. Established lawyers hesitated to challenge him. But when Jasper presented me with Chloe's fingerprints lifted from my design drafts and surveillance footage from our apartment building's lobby showing her entering while I was out, I knew he was deadly serious. The lawsuit dragged on. Many predicted Jasper wouldn't win, just as they hadn't believed the design was mine. But finally the day came. When the judge delivered the verdict in our favor, a stunned silence fell over the courtroom. I looked at Jasper, tears blurring my vision. Across the room, Dominic stared at Chloe in disbelief. I didn't know the reason for his shocked expression, nor did I care anymore. Facing the scornful, judgmental stares of the courtroom, Chloe couldn't accept defeat. The design is mine, she shrieked desperately, glaring at me with pure hatred, looking ready to launch herself at me. Sylvia, you bitch. You framed me. I shook my head sadly. The evidence of your plagiarism is conclusive, Chloe. Are you questioning the judge's ruling? The judges were already beginning to file out. Chloe screamed in frustration. You must have bribed the judge. Gasps filled the courtroom. Chloe! Dominic hissed sharply, but it was too late. The departing judges shot Chloe disgusted looks, clearly wondering how a top lawyer like Dominic Thorne could represent such a person. Chloe stared at Dominic aghast. You yelled at me? You lied to me too, Dominic replied, his voice tight with pain and disappointment. Seeing his reaction, Chloe panicked. Dominic, honey, I did it all for you. Don't use me as an excuse. He violently shook off her hand as she tried to grab his arm, turning away from her dismissively. His gaze then shifted to me. Seeing me smiling softly while listening to his rival speak seemed to infuriate him. He started to step down towards us, but representatives from my former company intercepted him. My old company, a key witness throughout the proceedings, had seen everything. Their representative slapped Chloe's termination letter down in front of her, stating unequivocally that after this, she would be blacklisted by the entire fashion design industry. A wave of murmurs swept the room. This was the price Chloe paid for her blatant theft. Humiliation washed over Chloe, especially when the company representative turned and approached me with a beaming smile, holding out a new employment contract practically, begging me to return at a significantly higher salary. The stark contrast was too much. Chloe snapped. She lunged forward and ripped the contract in my hands to shreds. It happened too fast for anyone to react. You lunatic! Dominic shouted, rushing towards her. Slap! The sharp sound echoed in the silent room. Chloe clutched her cheek, staring at Dominic in disbelief. You hit me. Stop embarrassing yourself. Dominic's eyes were now filled with pure disgust for her. Even I was slightly shocked. I hadn't expected him to be the first one to discipline her physically. But then again I understood. For Dominic, a woman, no matter how loved, could never be more important than his reputation, his public image. Chloe had deceived him, made him unknowingly fight against justice, and led him to his first major defeat. In Dominic's world, Chloe was now condemned. Jasper immediately stepped in front of me, shielding me protectively. Mr. Thorne, he said coolly, shouldn't you be managing your client? Losing the case seems to have made you forget basic professional conduct. You. Dominic's gaze darkened further, seeing Jasper protecting me. He addressed me directly, ignoring Jasper. Sylvia, when are you coming home? I'll pick you up. Just days ago, he was ready to destroy me for Chloe. Now, he acted as if nothing had happened. Utterly laughable. I scoffed. Don't trouble yourself, Mr. Thorne. I think we should schedule a meeting at the Civil Affairs Bureau to finalize things. Dominic looked panicked. Sylvia, what are you saying? You're a smart man. I'm sure you understand, I replied, my face expressionless. He tried to argue further, but Chloe started screeching insults at me again. He had no choice but to drag her out of the courtroom. Finally, silence descended. Later, I formally declined the re-employment offer, citing different career goals. The ugly drama sparked by the stolen design was finally over. I heard later that the lawsuit severely damaged Dominic's reputation. Overnight, he fell from grace. He was no longer the city's star lawyer. His firm's business plummeted. But none of that concerned me anymore. On the day I met him at the Civil Affairs Bureau to sign the divorce papers, he still tried to explain. Sylvia, Chloe tricked me. Because of her overseas credentials, I assumed the design was hers. I'm sorry, Sylvia. Don't say you're sorry, I cut him off. I don't care what you thought. You are completely irrelevant to me now. He reached for my arm, but I flinched away. Sylvia, he pleaded. I've thought a lot lately. I realized too late, that I've loved you for a long time. I laughed, a hollow sound. How long had I waited, how hard had I tried to hear those words from him? Now that he finally said them, they meant nothing. Dominic, I said calmly, I won't deny I loved you once. Actually, I should thank Chloe. She helped me see you clearly. If it wasn't for her, I might have missed out on Jasper. Hearing Jasper's name, Dominic's face contorted. Sylvia, don't trust him. Jasper is a liar. I bristled, about to retort, when a warm hand gently rested on my waist. Jasper had arrived. Mr. Thorne, Jasper asked smoothly, exactly how have I lied? Dominic pointed a trembling finger at Jasper. I knew it. The reason you broke off our partnership back then, it was because you wanted Sylvia. Jasper simply raised an eyebrow. So what if I did? You. Dominic. I interrupted, wanting this to end. Have you ever heard the saying, belated affection is cheaper than dirt? When everyone misunderstood me, you chose to stand against me. From that moment, I knew we were over. Dominic stood frozen, his face etched with pain. Seeing my unwavering resolve, he finally fell silent. That day, with Jasper's quiet support beside me, Dominic and I officially divorced. On the way back, Jasper noticed my pensive expression, likely assuming I was still upset. He gently rubbed my chest as if soothing an ache. Don't be angry. He's not worth it. I turned to look at him. Jasper, Dominic said. You wanted me even back when you two split? Jasper Minzoy pressed his lips together slightly, a faint blush creeping up his neck. Actually, it was even earlier than that. When? I searched my memory, trying to connect any forgotten fragments related to him. Jasper gently flicked my forehead. Actually, from the first moment I saw you freshman year, I was already interested. That's why I wrote that whole legal strategy guide and left it on your desk. A tiny fissure opened in my heart, letting in a flood of light. My voice trembled. Did you happen to write it in Dominic's notebook? Jasper looked surprised. How did you know? Tears spilled over, hot and unexpected. Jasper instantly understood. His eyes filled with regret. I threw my arms around him, sobbing, but then laughter bubbled up through the tears. It's okay, I managed between gasps. The mistake has been corrected. I didn't miss you. He smiled, stroking my hair, his voice soft and full of warmth. I finally found you, Sylvia. I love you. Jasper, I sniffled, pulling back slightly. Next time, don't use someone else's notebook. He grinned. Okay. From now on, I'll only use notebooks you buy for me.